Chapter 24, Entering Planet Gar. In the Automaton, before getting to the important stuff, Nicole contacts Diane, letting him know that if the Legion is about to head into a corner, then Diane would be a great help, but at the same time aware that Diane is still diminishing Xiantha's allies. As well as getting to know what Ozona is like, such as his experience and the abilities such as his telekinetic sword, telekinesis, lightning production, and force fields, his race is powerful to obtain such power. Hailwolf also takes the chance to explain how Hailwolf got mixed with Ozona in the first place. Hailwolf explains what race she is, one type of race that used to help the galaxy via combat. But this tradition was discontinued after finding out that Xianthor is after those who continue to use combat. Ozona is alone, however, race-wise, and this is where Hailwolf explains what the Stonos are, beings who aid Ozona with taking over planets. This adds to Ozona's little empire, such as the massive chains that get launched to grab planets. Hailwolf, however, has sensed that some of the Stonos haven't been as fully into the cause as others, meaning if the Stonos attack, they would be worth killing. But the more hesitant ones only require a takedown. This is a race which wants to represent and aid a good leader, but seeing how restrictive Ozona can be, has made them more hesitant than ever. So many races like the Numians don't get themselves into fighting to keep their race alive. Hailwolf, however, tried to continue the old tradition by making her learn to combat herself, both in her normal form and mainly in her animalistic form. Sadly, she was caught, and this did gain attraction as Ekron spotted Hailwolf one day when he was on one of his planet spying tasks, and reported this to Xianthor and then Ozona. Ozona considers linking the Numians' planet via a massive chain and considers getting rid of most of the race, but Hailwolf offers to be an assistant to Ozona instead to save the lives of the others. Knowing she might be better off the planet, thinking her race no longer wants her around. This may have been the case considering Ozona reveals himself in front of other Numians that the race is in trouble. And it was Hailwolf's fault considering her practice which had been going on for months. When the chain landed on the planet, the Stonos around gathered the Numians, using some rough force, no killing. The killing part was considered until Hailwolf offered herself to be an ally for Ozona. This makes Ozona spare the Numians, but nowadays they are kept a closer eye on by Ozona, the Stonos, and even other allies of Xianthor. Ozona was mainly happy with his army and even Valor's as a right-hand ally. But getting another ally nearly made Ozona consider getting his legion of allies with mixed abilities. Once Ozona got hold of Hailwolf, gripping her via telekinesis, taking her via the chain and out of the planet. The rest of the Numians are then left alone but will have often visits from the Stonos and perhaps Ozona himself as he manages multiple planets. The Legion, after hearing this, thinks Hailwolf shouldn't have this mindset and that her race would want her back. The race may need protecting after all. Once you show that you are protecting others, it is often the easiest way to help others move on. While Hailwolf disagrees, she still thinks that the Legion seems okay so far. How they handle foes and seeing what the Legion is like when they are not fighting. This makes her drawn to them more, something which Zami reconsider how he presents himself. As Pod sees that sharing history is helping this situation regardless of what Nicole thinks. Pod shares about how he used to be led by a cruel leader, with which Hailwolf can empathize. They compare each other's experiences, such as how Ozona was restrictive to what Hailwolf can do during her spare time. And Pod talks about how he has been pushed around all the time for when needing to get anything done. After asking more about Mechajor, such as how Mechajor was very animalistic, especially towards those who were smarter than him, Hailwolf responds that Ozona is mainly sly. But Ozona has had moments of silence, making Hailwolf wonder if this grand being is putting on an image, and even Ozona threatens Hailwolf if she ends up staring at Ozona for his odd behavior. And so, after a chat, Hailwolf guides piloting Zami to go under the water. The Automaton can adapt to space as well as water, thanks to Zami's upgrades. And with the Automaton adapted to space, Zami and some specialists at the base created spacesuits for the Legion if they ever get to an uninhabitable planet. But like any other planet they end up in, they make sure that the air is good via holographic technology, but both that and Hailwolf state that it's safe to breathe. The vehicle goes into a cove. It is a recommended shortcut by Hailwolf so the Legion can get to Ozona via a sneakier route, but Hailwolf didn't know Ozona has another ability too. Ozona earlier sensed atmospheric activity. This is where Ozona sent Valors down to where the atmospheric activity took place, diving quickly into the water. Ozona is confident Valors will sort out another intruder while Ozona keeps an eye on the production of the new chain. He is waiting for his destination to invade the planet Sliff using his castle's holographic projections to keep an eye on all the planets he is ruling via camera feeds. Speaking of Valors, Hailwolf mentioned Valors to the Legion earlier, being shocked that another Morphil was around. This made Pod look back and see why Hailwolf was scared of him at first. This makes Pod consider that no other Morphil so far has been on the right path, bothering him more, but at least there is an alright start with Hailwolf. Due to how unpredictable the cove is, the Automaton is accidentally knocked into a top part of a cavern and is slowly going down. The Automaton is broken. How will they get out? Zami immediately knows that the ship needs fixing, but unfortunately, they all get cornered and wrapped in seaweed by Tengus, crab-like creatures which have more normal arms and legs compared to a normal crab. With everyone wrapped in seaweed, the Legion is all hanged upside down. Not even Hailwolf recognizes these. Even Nicole states to the Legion to stand down. It seems like a misunderstanding so far. There is no need to attack. The Tengus are creatures that used to own Ozona's planet. It was mostly water up until Ozona and his hired goons of Stonos got rid of the water and tried to wipe away the Tengus. Considering they once possessed something very valuable, and now there are some survivors, eating seaweed and running on 1 star as permanent heat. Most of them died when Ozona got his Stonos started to alter the planet, but most of the Tengus survived by going to the core of the planet. So deep in the water, the Stonos won't risk it. Tengus are far more adapted to the deep water compared to other creatures in the universe. The cavern they are in now is part of the core. From how the water travels around the planet, the water hardly enters this deep cove. The Legion, after hearing this later, does clarify that they want to take down Ozona, freeing anyone in his grasp. This makes the Tengus drawn to the Legion. Even seeing this without any fake ego around, the Tengus no longer see the Legion as a threat. And so, the seaweed is undone, and the Tengus will help fix the Automaton. Alongside eating and chatting, the Tengus do seem keen on everyone, except Pod. They know from legends what Morphils are like alongside a nearby neighbor making a bad impression. Pod could tell, and they aren't impressed. As this goes on, Pod leaves his trident aside, and one Tenga gets curious about it. And Pod once again gets defensive and snatches the trident away from the Tenga. The Tenga gets scared and the other Tengas start getting put off by Pod and then the rest of the Legion. The Tengas all gather and get the Legion to leave, with Pod squandering this potential connection. The Legion decides to leave them. Ozona is a priority. This leaves only the Legion to fix the Automaton alone, slowing down the progress, and the Tengus all run and hide away, making the Legion disappointed in Pod, and Pod shows a side to him that he thought was not around anymore. This does make the Legion angry towards Pod. He has shown a side to him that wasn't true, and Pod can only look at himself in shame. He cannot compare himself to Zami or Nicole. But when things couldn't get worse, Valors comes around, shocking everyone including Pod.